Okay, it's time for me to finally do that update on character creation for Aetherbound. And for this one, I am going to be recreating one of my characters in the Thursday campaign. Currently, as of now, his name is Zaphian. He is a Dragonkin Scion, which is essentially Aetherbound's version of the Sorcerer. I'm doing this because we're playing on Roll20 in that game, and I want to bring it to Foundry. So, we're going to start with creating a folder. Now, I think your creating folder option is only available for GMs, but I'm going to name this potential NPCs because I personally like to bring my characters from other games that I play, where I'm a player, into my games when I'm the GM as NPCs, not to actually help the party as far as GM PCs, but more like, okay, these could be adversaries, these could be allies as far as giving them advice, crafting armor for them, stuff like that. I'm thinking kind of for Xavian, thinking about doing a kind of, I don't know, Fate slash Stay Night. They can summon him and he can be like a heroic spirit. Because right now, that will be for the Saturday game. Or it could potentially bring in for the potential Aetherbound Wild March, which will be the Kingmaker like game for Aetherbound that's going to be coming in the future for Sunday. But that might be interesting. We'll see. So I have my potential NPCs. So we're gonna go ahead, create an actor. I tell players to press the create actor button, and I'm gonna name him Zayden. And type player character folder. We're going to put it in the potential NPCs folder. And now we're gonna create actor. Good. Okay, I can't zoom this in, so I hope everyone can see well enough. So we have his name right here. This starts at level 1. However, in Aetherbound, we start at level 0. So we're gonna do now. Current HP, 0 temporary HP, all this stuff. One of the limitations is that they automatically do the proficiencies, but some of the proficiencies aren't correct for level 0. So first we know that he is going to be a sorcerer. This is Foundry terms because luckily the good thing is that since I use Pathfinder 2E as a base, then a lot of the stuff is already in Foundry before until I can create like a website or something forward facing. For the games that I run, I do have the folder with all the documents, but of course it's not as easy to search for material like it is in Demiplane or Archives of Nexus. So I'm going to bring this over, drag and drop this. So usually what I do, I think if you press the search button, you can just press the check button and then it's going to confirm the selection. I don't know why there's two sorcerers here, but that's fine. Check. So now I have sorcerer. It gives expert will. Expert, this is Foundry version of expert, is fine. And Aetherbound, I kind of changed the proficiency. So in Aetherbound, it will be adept. So we're going to switch over to this, for example. This is my little document, my Scion document. I can zoom in on this. So I'm going to scroll up because we have our starting position. She's level 0. I still have the class die here because I was thinking about doing something similar as far as recovering stamina points via class die or recovering aether points via class die. The thing is, the class die are smaller than giving using class die to recover aether points would negatively affect the more spell casting classes versus a character like a disciple, which is 8th bound version of monk, which has a higher die but still uses aether instead of Aether is we'll get into Aether later. But anyway, so I'm keeping this for here. It might have use. I might get rid of it completely in a later version. Who knows? But at level 0, we're only supposed to be novice in charisma or novice in intelligence or insight. I took the 5th edition approach instead of the Pathfinder 2E approach, and I made a saving throw for each save. I like that better. But however, level 0, this is fine for level 0. I haven't figured out how to adjust the changes, so that's one issue. But this is only an issue at level 0, and you only need 500 XP in Aetherbound to go from level 0 to level 1. I do have a cumulative XP track versus the you reach 1,000 XP at whatever level and then you level up and then you have to do 1,000 XP to the next level to level up. So I changed that a little bit, but we'll get into that later. So we have Fortitude, Reflex, Will. This is close enough. When I say for the players, that's why I like to use this note section because this is good. All of this is going to be different in the app that I showed earlier. So this is where I make the changes. So luckily I can just copy and paste. And then, so saving throws, we'll get this. I think perception can change. So we have novice in endurance, novice in charisma, novice in intelligence or insight, untrained in the other. So right now I can just say novice in insight, because just like in 5th edition, there are not a lot of saving throws that use intelligence. So I'm thinking about that. I would like to get more in for Aetherbound so the saving throws can be more balanced. They will not be ever completely balanced, because like always, you're going to have agility saves going to be the most because you have a lot of things like chain lightning, fireball, and stuff like that. But currently, endurance, just like Pathfinder, so I understand why they use the 3 save system, is that these are the most common save. But in Aetherbound, there are going to be more charisma. So instead of using will for save like domination or banishment or stuff that really test your willpower, those are going to go over charisma. For things that test your insight, like your awareness of the situation, and that's how you avoid it, then that will use insight in Aetherbound, just like will. But novice in endurance, novice in charisma, novice in this. So now I'm gonna go back to this. Perception, untrained. Perception and untrained in Aetherbound, it's a -2. So similar to how it is in the Pathfinder 2E variant rule, don't add level to proficiency. But that's all right that it's not there. We're not going to adjust that. We're not going to put it in here right now because that's going to be instantly fixed at level 1. So that's all right. Novice in 2 skills determined by your bloodline. We will get to that. Novice in unarmed attacks is keeping track of all of that. Foundry does a good job. If this was roll 20, the one benefit over roll 20 compared to Foundry is that I can be very detailed in the proficiencies, and that's probably the only benefit, honestly. All of this explains about the class and stuff like that. We don't have to get into that. Cantrips, I'm going to do spells at the end because I want to talk about the things I did differently with spells, and I want to talk about my thought process of picking spells for Xavian, and then I'll probably talk about another player's character because they're a Scion too, and the differences, because I think that will be helpful. So we're going to scroll down. I updated this to put the bloodlines at the end, so now we can just get to the core material. Spellcasting at level 0, we'll get to that. This is just saying at level 0, you get 2 cantrips, but you get your bonus cantrip from your bloodline, and then when you level up to level 1, you learn 3 additional cantrips. And yeah, we'll get into spells later because spellcasting is its own beast. So we have bloodline adaptations. This is level 1. So we already got the starting proficiencies thing. Equipment, I won't be going over equipment because that's not as important. It's easy. That's common in any video. I mean, just pick your equipment. But bloodline adaptation. So now we're at first level. So I'm doing the class stuff. We have to do species. So species that I picked is not going to be in this document. Rise of Beasts. This is where I put the Dragonkin. So Dragonkin, you can think Dragonborn, but the Dragonkin, they each have a core inside them that affects their personality, their appearance, the development of their abilities. The core is basically based off of a dragon, a full dragon, and what they are. So we're going to scroll down. Probably I should talk about the different types, but the main thing is the core. So we'll talk about all this stuff. Cores are down here. So I guess we'll go in order. I guess that will make sense. Society. We're not going to read that. 3, 3, 3. We have 3 different types of Dragonkin lineage. We have the Drakeheart. The Drakeheart are the ones, think Dragonborn. They look like dragons. They look like Dragonborn. They're full dragon, stuff like that. Their speed is 25 feet. I don't know why this is 20. Oh, yeah, I've increased it. I thought that was at 20 as well. But their speed is 25 feet. They have a Jaws unarmed attack in addition to their claw. All the Dragonkin have a 1d4 slashing damage, agile, finesse, claw. All of them, no matter what you pick. And let me adjust this. I don't like these semicolons because I think they're unnecessary. And, you know, we can save a little bit of character issues because this is bold, so it's all right. We don't need to colon. Heart scale, these are the Dragonkin that have the scales. Their face is humanoid, though. Body's humanoid, stuff like that, but they have the scales around them. So I like for each of my species to have their monstrous the more monstrous looking versions and then the more humanoid looking version. Not only do I like that as a player, because I tend to play the characters who look more humanoid, but I do also like that for world building because inevitably there will be tension for the more bestial races versus the more humanoid ones. This is just naturally going to happen. And then you have the worm blood. Think, don't crucify me. I think they're called Naga. Basically the ones with the tail-like body and then the upper thing, whatever. But anyway, this is, you basically look like one of those. Snake face, snake body. This is fully if you want to embrace that snake-like thing. You even get a tail. And it gets the drip trait and the sweep trait. That's worm blood. Now, the fun part, draconic cores. There are so many cores over the different type of dragon, and I still have more cores to add, and I might be adjusting some of these. But anyway, the core that I made for Zapian is the Imperial core. We'll scroll down. So, these are the dragons that reign on high. Inspired by Chinese dragons. These are the elements of electricity, air. These are the haughty dragons, the arrogant dragons. Some of them can be like arrogant, you hate them arrogant, some, or can be just be prideful. Who knows? However you want to see it. But these are these type of dragons. I'm still adjusting this ability. Before, the ability was kind of crazier because it was like if a creature fails your ability or spell, then they are frightened 1. If they critically fail, they're frightened 2. Do I still have that in there? Oh, I do. I might have to adjust that because I increased the lethality of frightened because now, well, before, frightened would decrease at the end of a creature's turn. So it's like, decrease by 1 mod. I'm like, frightened really didn't do much, like unless you make it permanent. Now, I treat it more like the other conditions. So now, at the end of your turn, you need a DC 15 flat check to reduce your frightened value by 1. If you critically succeed, meaning natural 20 on the die, then of course you can decrease it by 2. And then that begs the question, what if you have multiple conditions that end? Sickened, frightened, you're sickened and frightened? Okay, in this instance, Aetherbound is deadlier than Pathfinder 2e because you only get 1 flat check to reduce 1 condition. Because the main reason I'm doing that is because I do not want to end a turn and having all these saves. So I had the option of being more generous and do the saves and slow down the game, or I can streamline the game even if it results in deadliness. Now, if a character wants more saves, then of course, spend an action. That's how you'll spend your turn. So, this might not be too bad. I don't know. If you think it's overpowered, let me know. Honestly, I forget about it during play, so I probably have to keep that into account last time. But anyway, associated damage type is light. Instead of saying radiant, like 5th edition does, and excluding light, because Pathfinder 2e doesn't have light damage, I think light can be a damage type. In fact, it can be an energy damage type. And I know there are things like UV rays and stuff like that. We're not getting into science. Maybe when we do a sci-fi version of Aetherbound, we can talk about the UV and all that stuff. But that's not important. So each core also affects the type of spells you learn via your Dragonkin abilities, via your Draconic Mage stuff. If you go that, Draconic Devastator, we'll get into that because I took an archetype, but we'll get into that. So saving spells are primal. I did the same thing with Scion Bloodline because I had to make a new bloodline. In Aetherbound, I like the idea of having a separate bloodline for each dragon, so I'm going to go that way. So I made Imperial Dragon. That way I can make it more unique. So Imperial Dragon has a bloodline. Their breath weapon shape is a cone. For the core determines the type of your breath weapon. So of course those that are traditionally electricity, they'll have the line, and then like the water types, they can do a burst of water and stuff like that, and then differentiate. So I chose Imperial Dragon. So that is my choice. So in here, we go back to character sheet. Now we go to ancestry. I don't think we have anything close. Anything close. So when something is not close, we're gonna use Dragonev because that's Pathfinder 2e's approach at allowing players to play a dragon. So when I pick something like this, I'm definitely gonna have to edit it. The rarity really doesn't matter as far as things, so we don't have to change that, but we do have to call this Dragonkin. So size tiny, that's not true. We're gonna do medium. Hit points 8. That's just like what we get. Let's go up. Let me look. We get 8 hit points, 4 plus endurance. We're gonna do stamina points at the end. Size, medium, good. Speed 25. See lineage. Common, draconic, dragonkin, dragon. Okay, so 8's good, hands 2. I'm curious why we can change this. Is this just for the Dragonette or all of these can change? I'm not sure. But speed 25 feet, I do like it. We do get dark vision. Beautiful, beautiful. Details. Attribute boost. Now, another thing is Aether Bound attribute boost. Here's how it works. So, at the start or at the end, depending on how you want, you can take an attribute flaw using Pathfinder's terms to get a boost in another attribute. You can do that one time for now. You also get attribute boost based off of your affinity, which is Aether Bound's versions of backgrounds. The reason I went with affinity is because personally, I don't care what you did in the past, and I don't know why you're trying to become more powerful by saying you did something in the past. No, I only care about who you are right now and what or your goals are, what inspires you, what are you good at, and therefore we need affinity. But we'll get into that. So all of these attribute boosts, we have to take them off. That one, update, free. I'm just gonna take these off. Update, none of these works. No, we're just going to change attributes. This is if, honestly, really, I really don't have to do this because whenever I go to this attribute modifiers, I tell players to, instead of all of this extra stuff, just go to manual entry and just manually do it. So none of that really needed to be done. Now, Big Sharp Teeth, I'm going to keep this on here because we'll get a Jaws attack. Wings, what does the wings give me? Your wings might not be as strong as Dragonite's, but it still prevent you from taking falling damage. Feature somewhere. I don't know exactly what this does, but we'll get into it. I want to keep the Jaws attack here. Of course, if you're picking something that's already traditional and you're not playing a more unique thing to Aether Bound, of course it's going to be there. So we'll close it out. We'll keep attributes right there because we need to choose an affinity. Now for this one, we go here. I have most of the affinities in the Aether Bound document, because an Aether Bound document is basically me putting rules, adapting rules into one document. But then when I saw the document was getting too big, like 1,021 pages, then I started breaking it apart. So this is how big it is, and I still have a document for Book of Classes and stuff like that, and Perk Electro, and a one for Rise of Beast. So a lot of material. Affinity guide. This is where I put the extra affinities when I realized, hey, I need to split it up. And Xavier went with the Warrior affinity. Now, I'm going to be adjusting these XP triggers. They're initially vague to give because it's more guidance for the GM. But basically, when these are completed, then it just gives bonus XP, and each affinity has one of these. So your affinity adds a little encouragement to the game. So characters, we do have the players are playing in the Saturday game that the player is a bandit, but he's a crusader. I'm taking heavy inspiration from Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous for that one. Because I gave the players a choice and they chose the option to save. They wanted to be heroes. They wanted to save the Crusaders from demons and stuff like that. And then it was an in-game choice, so I didn't explain the campaign for. Well, I just explained what they were seeing, what was happening. So anyway, choose 2 attribute boosts. One must be my 2 endurance. So we're gonna go with Warrior. Warrior is gonna take care of all of this stuff because it's pretty much the same. So Warrior, this is here. So let's edit this item. All of this is good. I'm not gonna change the thing. Let's just check. Might or endurance. Let's just do it. Now, also let us add these drives in here. We're gonna do skills at the end too, because we'll do skills at the end. Of course, we'll do the 0 in the first level, but starting at 2nd level, I do skill points. So I'm gonna do those at the end. So we have that. Now we're gonna do heritage. Heritage in Aether Bound, I call them lineage. Oh, you can have a Fey Dragonette? That's cool. I haven't looked at the Dragonette because I wanted to get the actual Draconic Codex book and read from start to finish. But apparently this is really unnecessary for me to be inspired by those different types of Dragonets because I have the cores, and the cores are tied to the dragons themselves. So this right here is more limited the way I see it. But anyway, Xavier has this is also in the main document. So I use this search function because I'm on Mac. Nephilim. This is because I just like the idea of the lineage, and I don't think I took any species perks from this. Now, one of the things I had to change to just for Aetherbound is because all of this starts at level 1, and it wouldn't make sense to keep that with Aetherbound when at level 0. So it's slightly more powerful, but given all the other things you're missing, characters are not overpowered as far as I see. And worrying about characters being overpowered is an entirely new discussion in and of itself. So I chose the Mutarikin that gives me resistances. Uh, and I like the idea because Xavian's goal is to become a god. This is a mythic campaign, so we'll get into the mythic content as well. So his goal is to become a godling, the godling mythic destiny. That's my player goal, and that's the way it's going in the campaign. We'll see if it happens. I'm okay if he doesn't get godling. I'm okay with that because it's more like development, and then whatever happens in him, he'll develop even if he dies. Close to there was a close encounter that he could have possibly died, but anyway, um, he could go up to be ascended celestial mythic destinies. We'll get into that later. That's more like character building, or character planning than character building. But anyway, so we have Mutarikin. So in here, the Mutarikin, always something. First, we have to choose Nephilim. Apparently, why do we have two different pictures? Of course, we'll just choose that. Okay. Now, edit item. My issue is, I think I know. I think I have to level up to level 1 and then I'll make the choice. So we'll keep that right there and then we'll get it. Age, I'm not going to fill that out right now. Well, I guess we could now. I don't have an age. I think it's in the backstory, but that's not important. Ethnicity, he's Dragonkin. So anyway, this is fine. I think we have all of the good groundwork. So now we can go to level 1. So I'm not going to adjust these right now. We could. But I'm going to adjust it for 8,500 because he is currently level 7. He's currently level 7, close to level 8. And let me quickly launch him because I have to go into Roll20 real quick. And that way I can see his character sheet. So we can just put that experience in there. So he is 7,370 experience right now. So yes, I did increase the experience needed as you get on later levels. I did that because ideally, when you're higher level, you can fight more, do more encounters before having to rest and do all of the sitting back. But anyway, let's go to level 1. Good. And now the choices show up. Select the bloodline. This is the one that I'm so limited. But we'll choose Draconic because that's the base. And now I choose a Draconic bloodline. Arcane Dragon. Ooh. I don't know if this was always here. I don't know if this was always here. But it's here. They have different Wailing Dragon. This is did they make it different for each one? I kind of want to. Wait, this is a Primal Dragon. I kind of want to see what they did with Sovereign Dragon. Imperial Dragon is not on here because I kind of want to adapt the Wish Dragon. But anyway, we're gonna choose Sovereign Dragon. The Sovereign Dragon, it is an Aetherbound too, but the Sovereign Dragon is like the Earth one. And Xavian did not deign to dwell on the Earth. He can use an Earth spell, I think. We'll see. Save. Blood Magic Skelly Hide. Okay, so that's what changes. We're gonna have to adapt that as far as blood magic is concerned, but I'm just trying to get the core material. So now we can go back to first level science. What? Let's see what they did with our Proteankin. So we go to feats, ancestry songs. Oh, that's why it's not on there. That's why it's not on there because it's a level 1. It's a level 1 actual feat that you pick, which I didn't like. So that's why I changed it to a feature. So instead of having a generic Nephilim lineage that they do in Pathfinder, you actually pick a specific one. I don't think it's overpowered because what is overpowered compared to the GM. Pretty good. So we have that right there. And then I guess you can roll that. I guess there's an ability in, but as long as I got it in there, then it's good. So the only issue with this is that it's considered a feat. I don't belong there. So I'm going to put that right here. I'm kind of very upset because this is really not going to use my species thing, but it's fine right now. So that's good. take that concern. Now the level 1 things, and now I'm going to quicken things up a little bit. We're scrolling. Oh, yeah, we need to go to science. Science, chapter 2. Next time I'm just going to search, but I like to use the tabs. Well, I'm just trying to get used to doing the tabs. Usually I use the search function. First level. So essentially all of the proficiency saves and stuff like that, I do for completeness. All of this is going to be fixed in the app, and I'm doing these things specifically, and I'm coding it specifically for Aetherbound, and then I messed up. Campaign notes. Did I put it in campaign notes, or did I put it in? I didn't save it. I thought I saved it. But anyway, might would be novice, endurance, novice, agility. Let's go back. Novice in endurance, charisma, intelligence, or insight. So endurance. So might is not novice. Might is untrained. Endurance, novice. Agility, untrained. Then you have charisma, novice. Then we have intelligence, untrained. And based off of his skill check and checks in the game session, the dice know about your character. Then we have insight, novice. Now when you go up to level 1, all of these increases by 1. So untrained become novice, novice becomes adept, untrained become novice, adept for that one, novice, adept. Safe. Good. Now 6. Now we can scroll down. So that was level 1. You become a novice in Scion class DC, so that's your spellcasting. That's already taken care of. Got our 12 AC right here. I'm good. Scion skills. Choose to become a novice in a number of non-professional. Oh, I guess we should do our attributes. I skip steps, but that's okay, because when you're planning out a character, you just naturally skip step. Then you come back to it. So now we have to go to affinity. Might or endurance 1 is a free attribute. I always choose Might because he is a Gish. I like to play my Gish characters. 1, and then free for charisma. Then at level 0, you get 3 free attributes, and any attribute that you want, you can stack them if you want. I imposed an attribute limit. That's way characters don't be too overpowered. At level 0, the attribute limit is 3. So I'm gonna put 2 in charisma because you should max out your key attribute for accuracy and for spells. Especially for spells, because the martial characters, they get their boost in their attacks in 2 levels earlier than a spellcaster gets their boost in spells. But I did some nice things for spellcasters, so we're good. I think I had, I need to look at the attributes for Xavier, because I think I did invest some points in agility because AC is very important. So yes, I did put some points in agility. So put a 1 here. So now we have 5. And then when we level up, key attribute is 3. When we level up, we get a boost in our key attribute. So we'll put 4. In fact, I'll do the attributes now because I usually tell them to do the attributes first anyway, instead of going by one. So at each level, you get an attribute boost, focusing on the attribute limit. At level 1, the attribute limit increases to 4. So now we have 4 right here. I'm going based off of my character, Xavier here is in roll 20. So we're going to put +2. So now I have +2 dex. That's 1. I need to choose, the way I did it is that level 0 is 5, and then you get 1 every level. So when you add your level +5, then that will tell you if you did all your attributes. So you should have a total of 12 if you add all these things together. So I know I boosted strength. I'm going to put 3 points in strength. So 4. So now 6 + 4, 10. So now I have a total of 2 more that we have to choose. No. Yes. Anyway, based off of what I see a point in Constitution. And then at level 6, the boost, the max attribute that you can have is 5. So I have a 5 in here. Now at level 7, I didn't boost strength because I saw how the campaign was going, and there's not a lot of combat. Number 1. Number 2, all of our party are officially spellcasting classes, except a potentially new player. He missed the last session. for work related reasons. He's an edge walker with the ability to cast spells, but Xavier really doesn't need to go into battle that much. So that's why instead of doing a might, I'm taking the more spellcasting approach, because I remember when I was doing builds for original Pathfinder First Edition, the person who created the guide was like the best type of spellcaster is like the beast caster, in the way that, okay, yeah, he's main sorcerer is mainly casting spells, but if an enemy can get close, if an enemy gets close, then it's fighting melee. So instead of jumping into battle, Xavier is now using his bless spell, and we'll get into spells later, boosting the party, more support role and stuff like that. And it fits the fact that I want to observe the other players as well, because this is like a playtest for me as well. So attributes are done. So all the HP should be exact, but I have to add the perk because I took the tough perk and stuff like that. So we are going to go back to class features. I guess I should do all this stuff here. So warfare lore. So we get intimidation, warfare lore. This does this immediately. It should. It didn't do the lore, but it does the intimidation. So warfare lore. Since these are not backgrounds and they're affinities, then of course as you level up you'll be better at it. So your proficiency in warfare lore increases to adept at 3rd, expert at 7th. Expert is essentially the master version on here. So you start off trained, the first boost will be expert, then the next boost will be expert, master. Of course, this is not going to be super high, even with that, because he doesn't have a bonus to intelligence, which is perfectly fine with me. And then we have the intimidating glare skill perk, so that should be in the feed section. No, it's not. So we're gonna search text, intimidating glare, and we're gonna just drag it over. So now we're done with affinity for now. So mystical instincts, perception is gonna increase. Already was from level 0. Science skills, 2+ your intelligence modifier. Well, as I've been testing the app, I just click buttons, and so I've done this quite well. So I already remember eyes, athletics, trained, because we need that. Or is it diplomacy? Trained. We need that. We get into spells later. I need to adjust this formatting since I'm just here. We'll do that later. Magical scion perks. I understand why Pathfinder 2e made most of the spellcasters not gain a perk, an official class perk. I know some of them in their things, like the cleric for them, they give the domain initiate perk if they're a cloister cleric and stuff like that. I understand. However, they streamlined and they made things similar among classes at certain levels. I think you can give every class a perk. I think you can do that without there being too many problems and without them being overpowered, especially spellcasters, because you don't need to nerf them. You already nerfed the spells in general, as far as damage and stuff like that, but kept the same balance in terms of spell slots. So the spells are weaker, but they're not getting more powerful. Plus, the attack bonus and the DC are you don't get the bonus to them when the martial characters get their bonuses. They come later. So they come later. The spells are weaker than in Pathfinder. And there are no items that boost the spell DC or attack bonus, versus martial characters getting the bonus today. So everything I've done for the spellcasters in Aetherbound, I'm okay with. And I'm not going to mess with they should get their bonus to spellcasting. I don't want to mess with the fundamental math of the game. However, the other thing is with using Aether points over spell slots, I've seen that, they're casting more spells. Fine. I've seen a lot of, since the Aether points are not slots, the most overpowered thing, quote unquote overpowered, that I could think of that other people might think is the heal spell. Because now, for 1 Aether point, you can take a first tier spell, heal, 1d8 plus 8 hit points. I believe my current scion, we can use Xavier, because Xavier's Aether points I think are like 42, something like that, 40. So now he can do 40 tier 1 heal spells a day. That's not including taking a short rest, because short rest gives you Aether points. But here's the issue with that in my mind. Sure, you could do it, and it's even more powerful with a gift, because now you're battling the enemies and stuff like that. However, you're using action points to do that. 2 action, heal. because you should always do 2 action. Well, most of the time do 2 action. You're not using as many action points. A strong enough boss, like a boss, not a like each there's an enemy for each party member. I'm talking about like 1 enemy versus 4. You can have the heal. They're doing enough damage. If I want to knock you out, we can do that. Knock you out. And we say knock you out. In Aetherbound, when a character gets to 0 hit points, they are brought to death's door. They are still conscious, they can still move, but the only amount of action points that you can use is 1 AP. So you could use that 1 AP to heal, but you're not getting the 2 action version. So there's issues. It's not overpowered for me. Players comparing themselves to other players, that's something to think about, but so far no one has had any issues, so I don't have a problem. Advanced bloodline. Also, another thing that I did with sorcerer, instead of gating the bloodlines behind a perk where you have to pick that, they're just automatically given at appropriate level, because I feel like it's your bloodline, it's your innate power. Yeah, you should do that. So probably we should do that. We already did attribute boost. Species perk. Now we're gonna have to choose an actual species perk. We have Psionic Potency. I think with Foundry, it includes all these things. When you're building your character and they're not on here, I would check this just in case. Then I would check that it's there. So Sorcerer's Potency is there. Now, Species perk. So I started off picking Dragon Breath. So I'm going to browse this, and I'm going to have to put this in the bonus perk section. Oh, I really want to I'll put Protean Can in the bonus, because that's really a bonus. And then I'm going to edit it. Protean Can. I already know that's a lineage, but we'll just put that in there for extra safety. So now I can look at this. I doubt they'll have it because, oh, they have a dragon. Yeah, Dragonette Breath, close enough. I'm not gonna adjust the numbers because we don't need that for our particular thing. I hate the fact that I have to choose homing dragon. What is this? What is this? Pearl. What does this have to do with? Oh, I guess it determines the type. Well, we're not going to go into details and break it down and just getting the core stuff down that people, we're not going to fully, like I'm not going to fully do it for this stream because the video is already getting too long. We're just going to do the core thing. So we did the attribute boost. Skill points, I'm going to put the skill points here. Starting at 2nd level, you gain 1 skill point. And then at 6th level, it starts to increase to 2. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, that's 4 skill points. 6th and 7th, that's another 4 skill points. So that's 8 skill points for its avian to spend. It takes 1 skill point to take a skill from trained, well, from untrained to trained. And it takes 2 skill points to take a skill from trained to expert in Foundry's version. But I'm not about to do that. That can already be taken care of. So I'm just going to put 8. I'm going to do skill points. And I have 8 to spend. Universal perks. Now, this universal perks class feature, because I made a difference in Aetherbound, where in Aetherbound you get a perk at every level, a general / skill perk at every level. So originally general perks were relegated to this universal perks thing at 3rd, 7th, 11th, 15th, and 19th level. I'm gonna have to reword that for the universal perks because I have to adjust it because Aetherbound goes up to level 30, and now I have to adjust everything to prepare for all of that. So I have to do a big correction on a lot of these things. But I'll read that later. Now for the universal perks class feature, now you can use it to get any perk that you meet the prerequisites for. So that can be, now you can do an archetype perk. Now you can do a class perk at that level. You can even do a mythic perk if you're a mythic character, which I'll get to mythic. And then I'll just touch on the spells a little bit. So that's what universal perks class feature is for. And I guess I should choose what I use my universal perk on. So now I'm going to go to this universal perk 3 if I did the proper. This is why I didn't organize this. But anyway, that's fine. We're just going to shorten the video. Advanced bloodline, that's self-explanatory. I'll do the extra stuff off screen because it's kind of long. Magical fortitude, your proficiency tiers and endurance and myces increase to the next step. So for the ease of this, so all of this stuff, this is for players who are starting off at a higher level. When you upgrade that to that 7th, now we have all of these options. A lot of this stuff is already given. Then we have slots to put our ancestry things and stuff like that. And then this is where I just put those extra perks to start off with. And then for the bonus perks were, so essentially for your skill perks, 2, 4, and 6, 3 of them. So half of them you'll just put either the general or skill perk in there. And then for the other half, I'll put in bonus perks. But I think we did all the foundational stuff. Now let's talk about mythic content. Now mythic content changes the game. Basically, before you would die when your wounded value reaches your death threshold. This is 8th round rules. Pathfinder slightly different, but that's not important. I should start at the beginning. Mythic call. However, do we want to scroll up? Yeah, we'll start here. This is good. So in the mythic version for 8th bound, instead of dying when your wounded value reaches your death threshold, which is usually 5, unless you have Die Hard, which we're going to increase it to 6, you become doomed. You increase your doomed value by 1. Now, when your doomed value reaches your death threshold, then you die permanently. You're dead. Your myth is over. Also, when your wounded value reaches your death threshold, your doomed value goes up, your wounded value is cleared, and then you fall unconscious. So even if you're at death's door, that's one way to make a mythic power character go unconscious until you recover 1 hit point. So there's that. Doomed value means that your max death threshold, your death threshold is reduced by your doomed value. So now, if your wounded value, let's say your start off fresh character, no wounded, no doomed, you die normally when your wounded value reaches 5. But when you're a mythic character, now when you reach your wounded value 5, your doomed goes up by 1, and your wounded value will reset to 0, you fall unconscious. Let's say you recover some hit points, you're back up, you're a good fighter, you're no longer at death's door. You go down again. Your wounded value increases because you're still taking damage, maybe from area effects, from being down. You're at death's door, so I'm guessing you chose to stay up and continue fighting because you're a hero and you want to save the day. So now they take you to wounded value 4. Because now when you reach wounded value 4, because your doomed value is 1, you are considered dead if you're a regular character, because doomed value reduced that 5 to 4. But you're a mythic character, so now your wounded value resets to 0 again. So now you're doomed 2. Doomed 2, wounded 0. So it continues the process. So now you only need to get wounded 3 to consider yourself dying. And the reason I keep on mentioning that regular you die when you do it, because doomed is not a mythic condition. I had one player make that mistake and thinking, because he got mad, or quote unquote, that I brought out a mythic condition, because the only time he heard about doomed was because he was in the mythic game. But doomed is a regular condition, so a regular character could be doomed, and then they are at a higher chance of dying. So there's that. So mythic proficiency. Before, I didn't like how Pathfinder did the mythic proficiency is +10. And then, of course, you had your character level proficiency, and then another person online was saying the similar thing, because now when you get a later level, the mythic proficiency is less powerful. But since I'm doing mythic proficiency and I have to make room for epic content, I just do mythic proficiency as a +5, flat +5. So, of course, I guess compared to a level 0 or level 1, having mythic power doing mythic proficiencies, the bonus isn't as high as you would get. Because you will get, technically, I'm assuming that you're a novice, you'll have a +2 on whatever skill. With mythic proficiency, that's essentially a +8. So you're not doing so many crazy things, but I think it makes sense that you can still train and stuff like that, and then eventually you'll be more powerful with your mythic stuff. So I like that approach better. I have no issues with that. Mythic points can be used. The most common thing that people want to do with mythic points is to like re-roll a check or save. An action or retreat or dramatic. This is how you get mythic points. That's can be explained, self-explanatory. Mythic professions. Mythic, right? You roll a skill check or saving throw and don't like the result. This is 0 AP. You can re-roll it with mythic proficiency, so you can rewrite fate, which I kind of have a concern with that, because these are inspired with from Pathfinder. I'm going to get into the role scenes later, but anyway, one main thing that you choose is a calling. And the calling have tenets and taboos, things that you should do, things that you should not do. If you do something that is taboo to your calling, you lose all your mythic points for that. And I think if you do something with your calling, each calling, Includes tenants, mythical and community can that cause immediate loss of all current. Yes, these goblins often guarding my face. So you don't get a mythic point for doing something that is your tenant. You do get a mythic point by doing one of these things in here. The first time each day you do it, you get a mythic point if you get a critical success. But Xavian has the Slayer's Call. And that's a new thing too. I'll add that later because that's a unique thing that's not going to be here. They have all of these different, but there's no Slayer's Call. But I just wanted to mention that that's mythic content. And then you get your mythic perks. This is kind of like the free archetype thing in Pathfinder 2E. Essentially, this is on top of what you get. So you get your mythic perks, but you also get your class perks at even level. And then the final thing is the mythic destinies. So at 12th level, instead of like before, of course, you pick a perk. Instead of picking a level 10 perk, at level 10, you can choose a level 8 perk or level 6 or level 2. You can take any lower level perk. However, at 12th level, you must pick a mythic destiny. And I'm excited about this format because now, since I've been playing Wrath of the Righteous, now this is how I add those mythic choices from Wrath of the Righteous into this one. We have some Apocalypse Rider, but it seems like, and I haven't seen like delved into, well, I remember scanning a book a long time ago, but I think in the original like mythic book of Pathfinder First Edition, I don't think they had the Trickster or the Zato or anything like that. I think that was Hellcat Studios' unique thing to make it more tied with the story, which is nice. But we have some Azata-like things. We have the Ascendant Celestial. I guess you can be Azata. The Trickster, we don't have a Trickster in there, so there's room for that. What else? Lich, we don't have a Lich. Pathfinder 2E does have a Lich archetype. I haven't read it and looked at it yet, but I do like my Lich playthrough in Wrath of the Righteous, so I want to do something with that. I've been thinking about how to do the Swarm that walks. Sure, it can be powerful. Sure, it's evil in the game, but maybe a player wants to be a good Swarm. Is there anything in maybe instead of devouring everything, just devour the enemies? That's one option. There's one thing. Of course, I do like to tempt my players / their characters with choices, meaningful choice. I want them to show me who their character is. Are they really good? Because right now, Saturday game, I think they're a bunch of murder elbows. I don't think they're really good. We have a bandit crusader, and then everyone else kill go. We'll see. We'll see. So I think that's all mythic content. A little bit about the spells. Yes. So I know some of these spells. Spell. We add a spellcasting entry. You choose which one you are. If you are a Scion, if you are a Maestro, which is a bound version of Bar, you'll be Spontaneous Caster. Of course, all of these things are some Mage, which is aka Wizard, anointed with a Cleric that will be prepared. A Scion is Spontaneous, so we're going to Spontaneous. Magic Tradition uses Primal for the Imperial Dragon Charisma, so we can create. So I'm going to do a search button. Simple search. I know some cantrips. Know the way. Know the way. Why is it not in Foundry? Spell cantrip. Cantrip. Probably because it's using pre-work. Because we have no. That's not it. First cantrips. I know it's a problem spell. I know it. Because I checked. Okay. We're not gonna do this. I use the compendium anyway. Know the way. There you are, spells. And cantrip. Beautiful. Ignition. Now, let's get to the good stuff. How we do spells. Oh, and we should do stamina points. So heal. So let's do stamina points. So stamina points, easy way to remember is you get half the HP plus your endurance modifier of your species. So the Dragonkin gives you 8. And I like to put stamina points here. So we have consumables. Since this doesn't have a specific stamina point button, we have max stamina. So I like to change this to other and the bulk to negligible. This is good quantity. So the endurance modifier is 1. So we're going to do 4 plus 1, 5. Spellcasters, especially low level ones, gets 2 plus endurance modifier plus 0. So it will be 2 plus 1 because the endurance modifier, aka constitution modifier, is 1. So that will be 3 times 7. So 21 to that. So that will be 26. So this is good. So that's stamina. Stamina, this is what you use to do your stamina burst action. So basically, at the end of another creature's turn, you can say burst action, stamina burst action to make an attack, travel, cast a spell, stuff like that. So this is basically your way of acting outside of acting outside of your turn. Plus, when you do it, when you strike, which is 2 stamina points, this does not account towards your multiple attack penalty. So that's why I made it 2 instead of 1. Traveling is 1. For spells, they don't count against your multiple attack penalty 2. The stamina cost is the equal to the number of actions of the spell. So most spells are 2 actions. So if you do a stamina burst action, it will be 2 stamina points. Sure, you can do a 3 action activity. That will be 3 stamina points. With these spells, with these spells, of course, they don't count against your multiple attack penalty action points. You gain action points at the start of combat, and you get action points at the end of your turn. That's why stamina burst actions are important. So now you have all from the end of your turn to the start of your next turn. If something triggers, you get 4 action points instead of I combined the reaction and 3 with the 3 action points from Pathfinder 2nd Edition to all just 4 action points. So you have that time between the end of your turn to the start of your next turn to, if anything pops up, anything triggers your reactions, you can use your action points on those reactions. Most things that were reactions as far as spells, they're still 1 AP, but they're reactions, so you can use them more than once. So if there's I think the spell is called Blood. There's a spell that's Blood, it's something. So if you take damage, then you can use your reaction, cast a spell, and then they take return damage. Kind of Pathfinder's version of Hellish Rebuke, stuff like that. Then that will be 1 action. If it happened again, you can spend 2nd action. That means at the start of your turn, you only have 2 actions. So you can do that. That's for reactions. Or let's say you did those reactions and you did a stamina burst action. Now you have no things. Your turn ends and you can do it again. So that's nice. At least I think it is. Players don't use it as often until they're about to die. Then they start talking about some stamina burst action. So whatever. Now a big thing is spellcasting. So most spellcasters, your main spellcasters, are going to have Aether points equal to their proficiency modifier times their key attribute plus their level. Before, when I was doing 2 Aether points per tier of spell, I added more, and then that made the math kind of more complicated. I like that I reduced it to 1 Aether point per tier of spell, which is better for the math. So now we'll just do the things. I like to keep it in here. One of my players, in fact, I'm going to do it here, but I want to bring out one of my players who is also a Scion, Dragonkin, because Dragonkin is amazing. He's an adamantine Dragonkin. He has his Aether points at each one because for Foundry you need to have these in Foundry they're considered slots, but you need to do them to actually press the class one. But anyway, this one he's level 6, he has 25 points. Now with a Scion, they have the Aether Forge ability, meaning that if there's a spell that matches a trait in that little Aether Forge ability, then you get an additional Aether point. So this is just to signify Scions can cast more spells. So for Xavian, his charisma modifier is 5. And his proficiency now at level 7 is 4. Your proficiency bonus, because expert is +4. It's adept in Aether Bound, but expert is +4. Trained is +2. So expert +4. So you have 4 times 5, which is 20. Then you add level, which is 27. So that is 27. However, Xavian has more Aether points than this. Of course, I'm going to pick all the spells, but his is, this might seem broken, but I'm going to bring it out, his Aether port. So I'm going to search Imperial Dragon. His Aether Forge ability, gain 1 additional Aether point for each spell you know with air, aura, electricity, light, sonic, and spirit. And probably take aura out, but Imperial Dragons, they have that presence about them. They're the dragons of the sky, air, all of that stuff. So that's why we have air, electricity. His breath weapon does light damage, and of course, if you're going to rule over the air, you have to have sonic and then spirit. A lot of traits, but from what I compare to the Adamantine Dragon, which he definitely invests in Earth spells, which I kind of like. Your bloodline should affect the spells, and having the Aether Forge ability in there kind of pushes players to want to do that. The mechanics should reward what you want the players to do, and so far it's working. So 27. So I'm going to tell you right now, he has 45 So how did he get to 45? He doesn't have 18 spells because he has more cantrips than usual, because when we were first starting out, I allowed players to dual class, kind of like just thought. That is unnecessary now that Aetherbound is developed in Pathfinder 2e. I can just give him a free archetype. But anyway, but he chose the, I call it Vagabond and Aetherbound, but Rogue, and the Rogue perk that gives him more cantrips. But anyway, and then you have cantrip expansion and did some other things. But anyway, so he has more earth spells in here and stuff like that. But as far as regular spells, these are consistent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So Xavier is going to be the same way. He's only going to have 13 spells from the Scion, because you get your bonus spells from your, you get your bonus spells from your bloodline, and then there are talents. So I should probably do this. Let's go into the compendium, because you get your talents. I'm just gonna do one, and they call it Dragon Claws, but Claws of Dragon, Spell Effect, Dragon Claw, Claws of Dragon, Dragon Claw. I forget what they called it in here. Breath of the Dragon. They call it Creature. I don't know what they call it in here, but anyway, one of his talents is Imperial Orbs. This is the initial talent that he gets. I'll add it later. Imperial Orb. So this has the light trait. So if it's a spell or a talent, in fact, for talents, some of them have the spell trait, so they're like spell-like abilities, kind of like Pathfinder. Other ones, like things that are more innate, then I don't have that one. In fact, I'm starting to transition that all of these things, all of these talents are not spells. That way, spellcasters have a way to get over like the globe of the things, anti-magic fields and all that stuff. I know they made it weaker in Pathfinder 2e, but I feel like if I can do it this way and remove the spell trait, so spellcasters aren't automatically like useless when that happens, then I can make it the anti-magic field actually be an anti-magic field. I have to look at that though. I started doing it with the Anointed because I feel like their domain talents should not be spells and more like supernatural abilities, since they get it from their deity. But anyway, so this one counts as well, just like his primal things count as well. However, Zabian has an archetype, which will be the final thing that I mentioned. Perkaholic Trove, Aetherbound, Spellbook. Did I not include that? Val, open. Probably didn't have to have all of these documents. World of Aetheria, Aetheric Rule, Expanded, Aetherbound Ideas, Revised Monster Manual. Where did I put that archetype? Archetype Index. Okay, so I took an archetype, and this is one way to get more Aether points as well. These archetypes. Why has Aether points? So took the Psychic Dedication, and the reason I did this is because I believe, since I don't want to use self as a word because that is kind of a negative saying, but he has that Imperial Dragon, and it's pushing him like to believe in himself so much that his very thoughts, his imagination becomes a reality. That's why I was trying to. At first, I was thinking, okay, sure, he's more like a martial character, stuff like that. Maybe I should go disciple archetype or martial artist archetype. But then I have to ask myself, is he going to be more of a spellcaster, or going to be martial? That was my main decision on deciding what class to go with as well. But I ended up choosing the Scion because Sorcerer has always been my favorite class. So when I playtest something, why not start with your favorite? Anyway, so I took that. He had the Charisma. So this one, the Dedication does not give you extra Aether points if you already have it. If you lack an Aether pool, you gain 5. So basically, this 5 Aether points is basically only to benefit a martial character who goes into get this. So now they have some Aether points to cast some spells. Even though you get the Subconscious Mind. Select the Conscious Mind and gain 1 surface side. So you don't get a Subconscious Mind, you get the Conscious Mind. So you get a side cantrip. And you do need the Aether points to surge it. Okay, so yeah, that's good. Because at first I was thinking, you only get cantrips, so why you need the Aether points? Because the cantrip in and of itself does not requires 8th point. It's the surge benefit that requires 1/8 point to actually use. That's also in the book of classes, which can be found on the psychic stuff. But the thing that's really giving him 8 points is the novice psychic spellcasting, and you get 4 plus your spellcasting attribute, which is charisma. So he gets a 9 on top of that. And then with any spells he gets from this, which he's getting a spell at 1st tier, and then a spell at 2nd tier, and next level will get a 3rd tier spell. So for those 2 spells that he have right now, if they have any of the traits mentioned, then he gets bonus 8 points. One of them I chose was a new spell that I created for Summon Imaginary Friend. We won't get into the summon spells, those are in the documents, but that one doesn't have any other traits. And then the other one is Illusory Creature, because I just love the idea of the spell. That's the spell that got him into trouble. But anyway, that's enough for the introductions. If there are any more questions, if I need to dive deeper, then I will dive deeper into the spells, actually go through spell selection and stuff like that, and actually finish the character. Right now, I just use an example. I think 56 hit points. Oh, I forgot I need to add the tough perk. He's not done, but he has been started.